The village of Lindenholt sat quietly tucked between the snow-choked forests of the Carpathian Mountains, where winters were long and stories stretched even longer. In the year 1774, before roads were paved and carriages rattled through cobbled cities, Lindenholt lived by firelight and superstition. It was here that the legend began, or rather, ended. They say her name was Annika Dorner, the only daughter of the town's cooper. She was young, radiant, and beloved by nearly everyone, the kind of girl villagers spoke of as if she were made of morning sunlight. Her betrothed, Matthias Krum, was a hunter, tall and quiet, with dark eyes and a loyal soul. Their wedding was planned for the winter solstice, an odd choice to outsiders, but to the folk of Lindenholt, it was tradition, a celebration of light returning to the earth. The village had been blanketed in snow for a week, but the skies held still, promising one clear day for celebration. Lanterns were strung, barrels of mead rolled from cellars, and wild game roasted on spits. The chapel was decorated in pine and red berries, and Annika's gown, stitched with lace from a traveling merchant, hung ready in her father's home. But on the night before the wedding, the storm came. It was sudden, violent, a blizzard of such force that people swore the wind shrieked like the dead. Trees split. Roofs caved. The world vanished into white. Annika had been walking to Matthias's home to deliver a hand-stitched scarf when she was caught in it. Alone, without a lantern, she was swallowed by the storm just a few dozen paces from her door. They found her 3 days later when the storm passed. Frozen in place, kneeling in her wedding dress, the same gown she had begged her mother to let her try on just once, the night before. Her hands were black with frostbite. Her eyes were wide open. Her lips were blue. Some said it looked like she had been waiting for someone. Others said she'd tried to crawl her way back and something had stopped her. She was buried under a mound of pine needles without a proper ceremony. Matthias never spoke again. A year later he hanged himself in the chapel. The following winter solstice, a traveling fur trader passed through Lindenholt on foot, seeking shelter. He never made it to the village. Days later, hunters found his corpse curled in the snow, dressed strangely, in a torn ceremonial groom's coat with lace cuffs. His boots were missing. His face had a faint smile, but his hands were locked in a death grip, as if he had been holding something, or someone. The villagers knew then she had returned. They whispered that Annika Dorner's spirit had not found rest, that she waited still in her blood-stained dress, for someone to take her home, to finish what never was. And each winter solstice, when the night was longest and the snow deepest, she would walk again. Her arrival is silent. The snow muffles all sound. They say she appears just beyond the tree line, where lanterns fade and the wind begins to bite. A young woman, barefoot, her gown soaked in red at the hem. She never speaks, only reaches out a pale hand, her eyes pleading. If you take it, you will not feel the cold. Not at first. You will feel warmth, even comfort, and she will lead you into the forest, deeper and deeper, though your legs won't resist. The storm always follows, swirling faster, hiding the path behind you. Then she turns to you. And that is when you vanish. Now, every year, on December 21st, the people of Lindenholt stay inside. No candles are left burning near windows. No travelers are taken in after dusk. Church bells ring once and then go silent until dawn. Children are told never to follow voices in the snow. Men leave an old coin or ribbon on their doorstep, a token so she might pass by. And if anyone hears 3 knocks on their door past midnight, they do not open it. They do not speak. They only wait. Because if you respond, you might see a girl in white standing at the edge of the woods, her hand outstretched, her lips moving silently, still waiting for her wedding day. In 1798, a scholar from Vienna named Gerhard Meissner documented the legend while passing through Lindenholt. He scoffed at the villagers' fear, calling it provincial fantasy. That solstice he went walking in the woods, determined to debunk the tale. He was never found. But months later, a hunter discovered an ornate book beneath the roots of a tree. Its pages were stiff with frost. Inside was a single sketch. A woman in a torn wedding dress. Her hand extended. Her eyes wide and hollow. Year, 1759. Location, the Blackwood region, Northern Europe. Long before St. Nicholas was known to children, before red coats and jolly laughter replaced fear with joy, there was a figure whispered about in dark winter nights. The villagers of Blackwood called him Frostvader or Frostfather, and his name was spoken only when the snow grew thick and the nights grew long. He was no saint. He was winter's judgment. The Frost Father was said to be born of the forest itself, a tall, gaunt figure made of packed snow, ice-veined bark, and the frozen roots of black trees. His antlers curved like gnarled branches, each one crowned with frost-covered bells that never rang. His face was not carved nor flesh, it was blank and smooth like wind-swept snow, with only 2 sunken holes where eyes should be. In the dark, they glowed faintly, not red, not yellow, but an icy, dead white. Some claimed he moved without sound. Others swore the creak of frozen limbs, like trees bending under their own weight, announced his arrival. But one thing was agreed upon by every family, from the poorest chimney sweep to the mayor's own kin. If you hear branches creaking after midnight, don't cry. He hates the sound. Winter in Blackwood was no gentle season. Crops failed. Firewood ran thin. Wolves roamed close to homes, and the dead stayed frozen until spring. But what children feared most wasn't starvation or beasts. It was disobedience. For the Frost Father was said to come only for the wicked, the lazy, the cruel, the greedy, the loud. Each Yuletide Eve he would walk the snow-cloaked villages carrying 2 things. A wicker basket woven from thorn vines to carry his gifts. A long crooked staff of black birch, used to prod sleeping children and test their hearts. Good children, those who obeyed their parents, helped bring in wood and never cried after dark, would wake to find carved wooden toys or bundles of red winterberries, sometimes even tiny woolen mittens. These were left on the sill or inside worn shoes beside the hearth. But the bad ones? They simply vanished. Doors unbroken. Windows sealed. No prints in the snow except for a set of massive claw-like steps leading away, deep enough to crack the earth below. Sometimes the only thing left behind was a single tear-shaped icicle on the pillow. A cruel, cold reminder. It was said that in 1752, a boy named Jan-Nick lived in the village of Droska, at the edge of the Blackwood forest. He was known for spitting at dogs, stealing root vegetables, and mocking the old priest. His mother warned him every night, "Don't curse at the fire. Don't speak when the wind howls. And never cry after the branches creak." But Jan-Nick laughed. On the solstice night, just past midnight, a cold wind rushed down the chimney. The fire flickered. Then kriawak, the sound came. Long, slow, unnatural. Like bark twisting in agony. Jan-Nick sat up in his straw bed, face pale. He tried to shout, but his voice failed. Then he cried. Just once. By morning, the bed was empty. The window still sealed. Only frost on the inside of the glass, in the shape of a handprint. He was never found. But each winter, the snow near the forest's edge still shows a child's footprints, leading in, never out. Even now, the people of Blackwood and the surrounding hamlets observe the ancient ways. No whistling after dark. No tears after midnight. And never speak the Frost Father's name when snow is falling. Families hang dried berries over their doors. Fathers carve wooden figurines by candlelight and place them on windowsills as offerings. Mothers hush crying babes with tales of the kind Iceman, though their eyes betray fear. For some say he still walks, especially in winters when the snow falls thick before the solstice, and the forest groans under its own weight. In 1791, a traveling German folklorist named Wilhelm Bruckner visited the Blackwood region to study pagan winter myths. He wrote this in his final letter. They speak of him not as a tale but as fact. I laughed at first until the 3rd night came. The wind howled and I heard it, the creaking of wood but no tree nearby. I dared not cry nor breathe. I awoke to find frost on my floorboards shaped like antlers. I leave today. I will not stay another night. He never published again. Whether spirit, monster, or memory, the Frost Father remains a legend soaked in silence and snow. A shadow older than Santa Claus, colder than death, and perhaps still watching. So if you ever find yourself in an old mountain village, snow pressing against the windows, and you hear a slow, unnatural creak outside, don't cry, don't speak, and whatever you do, don't open the door. Region: the high north, among the borderlands of pine-choked wilderness and crumbling trade roads. There is a legend whispered among hunters, traders, and wayward monks. A tale passed from frozen lips in mountain villages, by those who've spent too many nights staring into a snow-covered abyss. They call it the Last Hearth Inn. And they say it appears only during the worst snowstorms, when the wind howls like wolves, when the trail vanishes beneath your boots, and when frost bites deeper than steel. The tale always begins the same. A traveler is caught in a storm, blinded by snow, lost in the woods or on some forgotten road between towns. Just as the cold begins to slip past cloak and skin, and exhaustion pulls at the eyes, a light appears through the storm, warm, golden, flickering like a hearth behind thick glass. Soon a shape takes form. A timber framed in, tucked between trees that weren't there moments before. A sloped roof heavy with snow. Stone chimney spewing sweet-smelling smoke. A crooked wooden sign swings above the door, etched with 3 words. The last hearth in. The traveler knocks. The door opens on its own. Inside. Warmth. Music. The scent of stew and bread. A fire crackling merrily. Polished wood floors. Quilted chairs by the hearth. A cat dozing by the fire. And behind the counter, the innkeeper, an old man with rosy cheeks, silver hair, and sharp, pale eyes that never quite blink in time with his smile. The innkeeper offers hot food, a feather bed, and a firelit room for the night. He asks no coin. Only a story in return, a tale of where you've come from, who you've loved, what you fear. Guests, weary and half-frozen, always accept. They eat. They drink. They feel warmth return to their bones. And by the time their lids grow heavy and they climb the creaking stairs to bed, the storm howls even louder outside, almost like it's alive. Waiting. By morning the traveler is gone. No one ever sees them leave. No tracks. No footprints. No name in any ledger. Weeks later, when the snow melts just enough, searchers may find the area where the inn was said to be, but only trees and bone-white frost remain. Nothing more. But sometimes, buried beneath the snow, a searcher may find a spoon still warm, or a crust of bread with a bite missing, as if someone had just been eating there. And the ground? It's wrong. Too soft. Too hollow. As if something just beneath the surface is breathing. The legend goes deeper than snow. They say the innkeeper is no man, but a wraith of winter, old as the forests, born of hunger and isolation. Some claim he was once a man, a tavern keeper cursed during a blizzard to feed travelers until the end of days. But others say he feeds on the travelers, draining their time, their memory, their soul. It's said the inn itself is built on the bones of those who came before. The timber groans with their sighs, the hearth burns with their regrets, and the stew is always hot because it never runs out. Because the pot never empties. Because it's not made of vegetables and meat. In 1763, a cartographer named Willem Dirks recorded a strange inn that appeared during a snowstorm between Arkenveld and Ruthers Pass. He detailed the entire structure, its 3 rooms, the goat stew, the cat with 1 golden eye. He sketched it perfectly. The next day he vanished from his camp. His notes were later found, water damaged, but one line remained. He asked me for a story. I told him of my wife. I felt her hand touch mine during the night. But it was cold. So very cold. Those who believe in the tale follow 3 rules when traveling during blizzards. If you see warm light in the middle of a storm, don't follow it. If you smell meat stew, burn pine and cover your eyes. If you hear a voice say, "Come in, traveler," run the other way. Because once you step through that door, you are no longer in the world you know. Time thins. Snow thickens. And you belong to the last hearth inn. Even today, in deep wilderness lodges and among long-distance trekkers, some say the inn still appears, always where maps go blank and compasses spin useless. They say if you listen carefully to the wind during a blizzard, you might hear cutlery clinking, or the low, crackling voice of the innkeeper humming a lullaby no one has heard in centuries. And if you follow the scent of stew, you'll never be hungry again, because you'll never leave.